Hello gamers, it's Thursday, October the 6th, and it's time for the board game news. Okay, first thing in the news today, the winner of the Knox figure from the Knox figure giveaway from last week is Justin Pardo. Mr. Pardo, I will be sending you an email to get your address, and I will be sending this to you straight away, so be looking for that in your email and in your mail. Okay, so the first thing on our list today for the board game news is Scythe has announced, or Stonemaier Games, the maker of Scythe, has announced an expansion for Scythe, and the expansion is called Invaders from Afar. This expansion is going to add 2 factions to Scythe. So if you have Scythe, if you own Scythe, you notice that there were actually 2 colored areas that didn't have a faction associated with them, and this expansion is going to give you those 2 factions. One of the factions actually has traps, which is kind of cool, so you can lay traps on the board, and that seems pretty exciting. The other faction has flags where it can control territories where it has no figures. So it's a pretty cool expansion. The great thing for me is my board game group gets quite large sometimes, and they never want to break up into different games. They all want to play the same game, and this will actually take Scythe up to 7 players. So that's a really cool thing for this expansion as well. The one thing that I would note, that having this expansion is probably going to promote you wanting to have that board extension. There is a board extension. Hopefully Stonemaier is going to make that readily available where you can buy the board extension, because on the back of your board there are hexagons that are larger than the primary side, but it's only half the board. So you have to have that board extension to use those larger hexagons. But with this expansion, it's going to make you want to be able to use those larger hexagons. So that expansion has just been announced, and that should be coming out. And also look for the board expansion. That's going to be something you're going to want if you want this expansion. The next thing is Pandemic. The makers of Pandemic have announced a expansion for The Cure. Now, The Cure is a separate game. It's not the original Pandemic game. It's a dice rolling game, and I am probably one of the few people who actually like The Cure better than the original game. My game group has both. I do not own both. One of the people in my game group has the original, and I actually have The Cure, and I actually enjoy The Cure. Not as many people like The Cure as I do, so I never expected there to actually be an expansion for it, but they have released an expansion for it. It's going to offer some new diseases and some new characters, so I'm actually really looking forward to that, so that has just been announced. Another thing this week is I received a copy of Terraforming Mars. I will be putting up a review for that shortly. It's a really good game with one minor problem, and the minor problem are the boards, the player boards that come with it. I will talk about this more in my review of why they're a problem, but there's a company out there, and I'm going to put a link in the description and also some pictures up here of some player board holders that this company has made. They are acrylic based holders. They actually sandwich the board in between a clear acrylic base, and they actually let you put your cubes in there, and they hold the cubes in place. So normally in the game you've got a little flimsy paper board. You put cubes on it to keep track of your production, how much your production is, and you move them. You know, if you want to move your production up 5, then you move it up 5. But the problem is these boards are really flimsy. You can hit them and the cubes go all over the place, and then you can't remember where your production was. But these boards that this company is making will actually let you put the dice in, and it holds them in place. It's a really nice product. Unfortunately, it's almost as much as what the game costs, so you know, you'll have to decide whether it's something for you, but I'm going to put the information in there as well. The next thing on my list is I found a new company to buy things from, and I want to pass that on to you. They're a really nice company. I've actually talked to the guys there, and the name of the company is Tabletop Now. They're not as big into board games. If you're huge into board games, you're not going to find any unbeatable prices there. But if you're into miniatures games, that's where they really shine. They have excellent prices on their miniatures games. They have free shipping at $75. Most places are free shipping at $100. but they have free shipping at $75, and against the trend, they are shipping all of their free shipping through FedEx Home. I know a lot of the companies now are switching over to FedEx Smart Post for their free shipping. I've had a lot of trouble with FedEx Smart Post, and not a big fan of it, and I know a lot of you out there are not big fans of Smart Post. So this company has assured me that they only use FedEx Home because they also have had problems with Smart Post. So I'm going to put a link to Tabletop Now in the description. Check them out if you're a Malifaux player, if you're an Infinity player, any player for miniatures. They have great prices. Their prices are better than almost any prices I've seen on those products. I am going to be placing a big Malifaux order with them because I'm a big Malifaux player. So I'm really excited about this place, and like I said, I've talked to these guys and they're super nice, super friendly. Some of the best support that I've ever gotten from a board game sales or a sales company. So check them out. I think they're going to be really big. So Tabletop Now. The next thing on my list is they've finally released the pre-orders for Vast Crystal Caverns. Vast Crystal Caverns was a big deal at Gen Con. I almost picked up a copy, but I had kind of met my limit with what I wanted to spend. I looked at it over and over again. It's a very intriguing game. It's a super cool game because it's an asymmetrical dungeon crawl. So it's a 5-player game. 1 to 4 players. You play either a knight, the goblins, the dragon, or a thief. And in a 5-player game, somebody actually plays the Cavern. So everybody's running around doing different things. The knight's trying to kill goblins. The thief is trying to steal from everybody. And if somebody's playing the Cavern's actually trying to collapse on top of the other people and stop them from stealing the stuff out of itself. So it's kind of a really unique game. A lot of buzz at Gen Con, and I've been really waiting for this pre-order to come out. Unfortunately, it does look like it's a little ways out. It does look like January before it comes out, but definitely take a look at Vast Crystal Caverns. The next thing on our list is Weird. If you're a Malifaux player, they have a promotion going on for October. If you want to check out the information on this, you can go to their, I think it's bi-monthly magazine, Weird Chronicles, and there's an ad for it in there. But if you spend $60 on Weird products in the month of October, then you can get a alternate Francisco Ortega figure for free. And I actually play the Ortegas. That's one of the groups that I play when I play Malifaux, so I'm very excited about this. Unfortunately, the problem is that you have to spend the money at a local game store, and I am 100% proponent of local game stores. Unfortunately, I don't think I have a local game store in my area that carries Malifaux. I do have one local game store that I don't go to very often, so I'm going to go by there and check it out and see if they sell Malifaux stuff. But we are very limited in my area to local game stores, and their selection is usually Magic and a few board games. But hopefully, if you have a local game store in your area that carries Weird products and you are a Malifaux player, definitely check this out. If you spend $60 in the month of October at your local game store, you go on Weird's website, fill out a form, send them a copy of your receipt, and they will send you a free Francisco Ortega alternate figure. And I actually like the way the alternate figure looks better than the original figure. So that's going on. Some Kickstarter news. There are a couple Kickstarters this week that I want to talk about. The first one is Hero of Normandy, the tactical card game. This looks like a really interesting game. It kind of reminds me a little bit, looks a little bit like Memoir 44, but it's a card game. It doesn't have a lot of days left. I think there's only like 6 or 7 days left, and it is a foreign company. The primary monetary values are in pounds, but I've bought things before that were like that on Kickstarter, and they just convert. I think the base pledge is like $35 if I remember right, and you can get an expansive pledge for $50 with that comes with a couple expansions. So definitely check that out if you're into war games. It looks like a pretty well done war game, and that's Heroes of Normandy, the tactical card game. The other Kickstarter news is that Japanime actually announced this week that they're kickstarting Dynamite Nurse. Dynamite Nurse is a deck building card game where you play nurses who are either trying to heal their patients or make the other players' patients sick. The theme is great. The thing is, I will warn you now that Dynamite Nurse, just like some of Japanime's other games, the artwork is a little risque. It's in that Japanese anime style, the risque anime style, so it is not really a game for kids. But for adults, it looks to be a pretty good game. I've actually seen some gameplay videos, and the game looks like it plays quite well. I have a wife who's a nurse, and my daughter who is going to be a nurse. She's in school to be a nurse, so nurses are pretty popular at our house. And so I think this would be, even outside the kind of risque artwork, I think this would be a pretty popular game in my house, so I probably will be picking this up. So definitely check it out. Dynamite Nurse. There has been a Japanese version out for, I think, a couple years, so this is an English version that's coming out, so if that's something that interests you, definitely go check it out. Okay, so I think that's all I have on the news today. If you're in the Florida area, please, please, please be safe. It looks like you guys are in for some nasty storms down there. Get out of the area if you're in the immediate path, and if you're not in the immediate path, get you some board games, buckle down, and get ready to play for a few days. And other than that, I will see you next week for more news, and until then, happy gaming.